Hello, everyone. Today is the 12th of June, 2025. I am in the middle of studying a few things in order to do videos on it, upload the videos. And I started looking back to some old ones. I have been doing that now, this channel, for almost 2.5 years. And I have uploaded so many videos that I started looking back at some of them to see if I could recapture some of the things I have been talking about. And I do notice that, for example, in politics, while at the time was an issue, a lot of them, when I'm talking about specific things, are a little bit outdated now. You have to, when you, if you listen to them, you can see that it was a year ago, a year and a half ago, something like that. But I thought perhaps well, perhaps the ones that wouldn't actually date would be the ones, well, quite a few, but certainly the ones on literature. And I started looking at them. And one that caught my attention was one I did on the eagle. I don't know, you old timers, if you have been following me for a while, remember this one. And it was really a moral story based on a sermon I heard a priest say. But it's the story of the eagle. Let me retell it to you. The eagle lives for about 35 years. Beyond that, however, the eagle has a choice to live for another 35 years more, until more or less about the age of 70, if he chooses the right choice, as it were. Let me tell you what happens. When the eagle reaches the age of about 34, it has a great problem in its hands. It has to confront a choice, an alternative. Its wings, with its feathers, okay, are now very, very old. Its beak is no longer, has no longer the strength it once had to hunt for prey, as it did until now, up to now. In this situation, the eagle now has two choices. One is to retire, so to speak, to await death, to go to the very highest mountain peak that he can find. That's where he goes, and there die a solitary death, a slow death, a lonely death. Yeah? Or, and this is the second choice that the eagle has, or to go on living for another 35 years. How? All right. Well, when the eagle reaches this point, it start flying. The thing that it does is start flying upwards, high, 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 as high as it can get to the highest peak that its wings will allow it. And then there, high above, so high that even the crows can't get to it, so high that even the scavenger birds can harm it. There, high at the very peak, either waits for death or chooses to live, to continue living. And that is the alternative it has. Now, this second alternative, obviously the one to choose, right? Or perhaps not. But this second alternative is a choice, and it's not really a choice, a straightforward choice between dying and continue living. That would be an easy one. But it is rather allowing itself to die naturally or go through tremendous pain and suffering that the eagle will have to endure in order to continue to live again. So it's not that easy. It will have to go through a long period, perhaps 6 months of utter suffering. How? This second choice to live amidst great suffering, as I said, this plan B, as it were, is to use its old beak, okay? Not very good. It's very old. It's not very good for hunting anymore. To use the old beak to start tearing out every single feather that it has left. Each of them being torn one by one with its beak until the eagle is completely bald. And the eagle now, with not one single feather on its wings, is totally and absolutely defenseless. Now it can no longer fly. It can no longer flee from any other animal if there is one there. So there it is, completely defenseless. But not only that, it's not that it doesn't even have one little, nothing there. It has all been torn out, the feathers. But now, completely bald, it begins to use its beak now, too, and begins pecking hard against the rock or whatever it is, there at the peak against something hard, continuously hitting the rock or the peak, wherever it is, and banging its beak against it. And the eagle keeps doing this again and again and again until that beak is totally destroyed. It's no longer that it is old, it is now that it's utterly useless. So now the eagle, with no feathers and no beak to speak of, it's there feeling the cold intensely, with no beak to feed itself. It can no longer find obviously any prey. The eagle now waits. All it can do now is wait. And cold and hungry, it loses its strength completely. So there it is. Had he chosen to die, he would not have plucked out every single feather. Okay, he would have just stayed there and die. But if he chose to live, that is why it started plucking out each feather. And now it has to wait. And after a period of time, like a tree that has been felled, the feathers begin to grow again. The feathers begin to grow again, little by little. And the beak, too, it was no good, useless, destroyed, now begins too to regrowth of it and to gain strength little by little. And so it is the moral of the story really is that after being through this suffering and this cavalry and Calvary, and this painful suffering, the 35-year-old eagle, after a few months of intense suffering, cold and hunger, is a new eagle is born. And then with new feathers on its wings, the eagle raises its wings and plunges itself back down to live another 35 years or so. And the moral of the story is whether we resign ourselves, so we surrender ourselves to what is happening in our society, or it's rather depressing, really, sometimes, or we want to, in some way, fight back. And because I don't want to preach a sermon here, let me show you. I thought of this because also I was listening to Gavin Ashenden in Catholic Unscripted. And let me just show you a little bit of what he says. Let me share it here. Let's see.
But promoting debauchery and licentiousness in the country's once respected schools would have been unthinkable just a couple of decades ago. Catholic theologian and commentator Gavin Ashenden, who attended the King's School in the 1970s, as I, Ed Penton, author of this piece, did in the 1980s, sees the developments there and elsewhere as symptomatic of a surrender to a new totalitarian political movement dedicated to the eradication of Christianity, because that's what we're dealing with. I have no doubt that people who decided to fly the pride flag think they're adopting a moral position, but their morality is one that surrenders not only the democratic integrity of a culture that generations died to protect and preserve, but explicitly sets out to replace the Christianity that had been celebrated in this place for over 1,500 years since 597, with a new paganism that celebrates hedonism and collective identitarian politics. It's hard to explain the rationale for this surrender beyond a form of group psychosis, feebleness of thought, and a fragility of integrity. Well, having kindly quoted me, Ed goes on, Ashenden, who co-founded the popular Catholic podcast channel Catholic Unscripted, that's us, believes the King's School, which is steeped in the depths of Christian tradition, has now surrendered to a neo-pagan collectivism, which is a tragedy of the greatest proportions. Ed continues. In promotion of Pride Month, did you know that you could be generating 10 grand a month or more by simply teaching other people what you already know? Its promotion of Pride Month follows a series of controversial raves in the naves in Canterbury Cathedral last year. You remember, we protested against them. We explained what blasphemy this was. Despite an outcry following the first such silent disco in February 2024, the Dean held a second one on August the 15th, Feast of the Assumption. Discos were permitted and promoted by the Anglican Dean of the Cathedral, who, you won't be surprised to hear, is also openly homosexual, cohabiting with a male partner. What are the odds, really, of two such institutions side by side having such leadership? One, a headmistress, we used, of course, only to have headmasters, and the other, a dean, when the statistics are that the same-sex attracted population is something like 1.8 to 2.5% of the country. Something unrepresentative is taking place in this context. Canterbury Cathedral and the city itself, the seat of Catholic England until the Reformation, has, much like the country as a whole, been experiencing a visible decline, a deterioration linked to the country's rejection of its Christian roots that Pope St. John Paul II and Benedict XVI had tirelessly and prophetically warned us about.
Okay, so thinking about what he's saying, I will put the link to his video down below in the description box. And those were my thoughts at the moment. Well, that's it. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.